Welcome back to the OnlyFantasy NBA podcast, your source for explicit and uncensored fantasy basketball content. Only three of us this week. My name's David. I'm here with Shan.
G'day.
And Nick.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Shan.
All right, let's get it going. So this is probably going to be the last podcast before we break for Christmas, New Year's, that kind of thing. So what are you thinking, guys? What's the Christmas break look like for you? Shan?
Christmas break, well, Team Shan, I mentioned a couple of episodes ago, was falling in the toilet, but the last couple of weeks, Team Shan is on the rise again. So I'm hoping to keep up some recent hot form and much like Team Nick, to maybe catch up to yourself at the top of the table.
Well, Team Nick features an absolutely red-hot Nikola Jokic. So, Nick, how are you feeling about your team right now?
I'm feeling pretty fucking sweet about my team. You boys, I did get a little bit, nothing too serious, for picking Nikola Jokic with a lot of cash outlaid there for him. I think everyone was going to spend a lot of cash on him, but I spent the most, and it's paying off. How good is it? The guy's a freaking champion. Look, albeit AD's gone down, he's lost his spot for a little while, but I think that'll get swallowed up by Jokic. AD, we all hope he comes back and he's awesome, because no one likes to see someone so talented missing so much. But I'm feeling pretty damn good about my team. Look, my team's actually in a real sweet spot. I've come from this middle glut in our league, and all of a sudden I'm challenging the big dogs like Dave and Loz. Had a big day today. It's on the back of a few guys that are red hot at the moment. Tyler Hero, Anthony Edwards,
Yep.
Tobias Harris, and Nikola Jokic are the main four. Look, I've got other guys that are all going well, but they're the main four that have just gone, you know what, hang on, let's cut the shit, let's play some good games.
We're playing NBA basketball, goddammit. Yes.
Yep, exactly. So, look, I'm hoping it continues that way. I predicted that these guys would be pretty damn good, and that's why I went after them pretty hard. So, I'm hoping it, I don't get touched by the curse of injury. Touch wood. Yeah, pretty happy going into Christmas and this kind of periods. It's funny, there's a few really cool games on and stuff like that, but I couldn't have asked for a better last couple of weeks.
Yep. Speaking of Tobias Harris, I'm thinking an episode topic when we get back after maybe in the new year or something needs to be an apologies episode where we all pick out some calls we've made that we'd like to backtrack on.
Indeed.
Hit a shot, Luca.
Well, my team's rounding back into a little bit of form after going for a couple of weeks, stagnating slightly. I was streaking clear on top of the ladder at one point there, and I've come back to the fold a little bit, but I'm still a couple of points ahead, so I'm feeling good. Got some guys back from injury, some guys starting to hit shots again, like Fred VanVleet, although my God, is that guy inconsistent. Anyway, we'll see how it looks in the new year. All right, let's move on to the first segment, Shan, with injury news.
Alrighty, cheers. What do we got? I'll focus on just the main fantasy relevant injuries this week, because there are an absolute ton of day-to-day injuries at the moment. I don't think there's a fantasy team alive who hasn't got at least one or two guys who are day-to-day niggles. Yeah.
Would you say you have a plethora?
I would say you have a plethora of niggles. Yes, that's a Free Amigos line.
Do you even know what a plethora is?
Yeah, cut that out.
I'm not cutting that out. You kidding me?
Leave it in.
All right, so going back to that, we've got a bunch of stars who've just come back recently too. So if you look at Atlanta, they've had DeJounte and Johnny Collins back.
Nice work on the pronunciation.
Thanks. And they've also got the one guy they've still got out is Clint Capella. So there was an opportunity for Onyeka Okongwu to maybe press his claim for some more minutes, but
he has been, I reckon.
He has been, except for today. Johnny Collins has come back, and they started Johnny Collins at center and sent Onyeka to the bench. So, so he might have missed that opportunity. Another guy back, Robert Williams, is back and playing for Boston. We mentioned that last week. That'll be back any day now. We got LaMelo and Gordon Hayward back at Charlotte. They're only missing a day-to-day guy in Rozier at the moment, so a lot of guys returning. We got Lonzo Ball. Some news came out.
Ooh.
There's every chance that no, it's bad news. It's bad news.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd only been hearing bad news, dude.
Yeah. No. The news being that it could go on and on and on. This could be the whole year. So
and if the Bulls
season.
don't start winning some games, then they might just shut him down. Hey.
Yes, and speaking of shutting down, we've got Michael Porter Jr. with a heel injury. I heard that could be back in about a week. That's what they're optimistically hoping for. That's to do with the heel issue. If there's
cautious with him, I reckon.
Yeah, there's rumors his back could be ongoing for the rest of his career. So I wouldn't.
That and the fact that I've got Aaron Gordon in my lineup means I think they should be really cautious with him.
Well, Michael Porter Jr. is one of my boys, so to be honest, I'm really not that fast at the moment. The rest of my team's playing well, and Porter Jr. is very much like a Christmas tree guy. I'm competing okay in threes and points, so I'm not missing him too hard. So yeah, we'll see.
No, you're doing well despite him, but he's a hell of a player when he gets going.
Yeah.
And then you got Cade Cunningham, did have that surgery, so season over. Drop him if you got him. And then we got the two biggest ones. So life hits hard sometimes in fantasy, and in the last week we've lost the number 1 and number 2 ranked players. This was pre-Jokic's last couple of games. Pre that, the number 1 and 2 were Steph and AD. They've both gone down for substantial injuries, just crippling whoever owns them.
I mean, we know that friend of the podcast, Mr. Howie, owns Anthony Davis. This is the second year in a row that he's owned Anthony Davis, and the second year in a row that he's copped a bad injury around this time of year.
Yeah.
It's like deja vu.
It's always the risk with a guy like Anthony Davis that because he's so big and he kind of flies around a bit, he's kind of put himself in a situation where he can get injured. Did you actually see what happened? It's like he actually jumped up and his foot kind of hit whoever the defender was, hit Jokic. Oh no, hit Jokic in the side of the leg, and it's like he twisted his ankle mid-air. It was bizarre. It wasn't landing on the floor that did it. It was hitting Jokic's massive Serbian leg. So,
Well, that was the collision that they've been highlighting as what likely caused whatever's going on here. But the weird thing is they haven't actually... They've said there's been several reports. One of them has been multiple weeks. One of them was 4 weeks. One of them was 4 to 6 weeks. But none of them have said anything beyond it's a foot thing. So there's a lot of speculation that it could be even worse. It could be a break of some kind. But who knows? That may just be speculation.
The only thing I can add is that I saw Windhorse saying that it was not an ankle.
Yeah.
So. Okay. Well, it wasn't that one then, because that was definitely the ankle. Did look like a baby tweak. So yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Not good.
They pointed out a lot of fans pointed towards that collision, but I did also hear he was having some issues earlier on in the game. So hard to say.
Mr. Glass strikes again.
Yes. And then we got Desmond Bain, who I had heard was going to be back mid-January, but there was a report today that he could be back very soon. But it was a comment by Danny Green, player Danny Green, currently injured.
Boxer.
Sorry? Boxer? No, not the boxer, the NBA player. So as to how accurate that is, who knows? So it could be back really soon, could be back mid-January. Then you got another huge star, Karl Anthony Towns, still out with the calf till mid-January. And three more. Three more. You've got Ingram, who's been out for, just keeps going on and on with a toe. He and I think Howie owns him, and Howie also owns Tyrese Maxey. Both of them have been out for quite a while, but both of them could be back any day from now, probably within the next week, hopefully. So he's lost Anthony Davis, but he might get those two guys back.
Something.
Yeah, they'll just about make up for him too.
And then the rest of them are just a list of guys who are day-to-day. Guys like Rozier, LeBron missed today, Westbrook missed today, Lowry, Middleton, Gobert, Kyle Anderson, Nance, Wendell Carter, Suggs, Booker,
Yawn,
Paul George, Zubac.
To be fair, wasn't there one of the GMs that got fined for not fully registering
Miami.
that list? Yeah, so they then registered an injury list with literally every player on their roster with a day-to-day niggle.
Yep.
I mean, that's
Yep.
petty.
Nice.
That's petty. That is some petty stuff.
I loved it.
But
I loved it. That's what I would do. Yeah.
Good stuff.
And that's the news situation at the moment.
All right. I had a couple of things to discuss. One of them not at all fantasy related, and one of them sort of fantasy related. So we'll go with the fantasy related one first. The recent spate of quick trigger ejections, player ejections. We've had Ja Morant, Luka Doncic. Al
Was Ja's talking, yeah?
was 100% deserved. He nut punched Mo Wagner. Nut punched Mo Wagner. Al.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, Ja Morant was weird. Like he barely did anything. He was talking to a guy courtside about how, like, the guy said something to him about how he needed to fire up because the Grizzlies were falling behind, and he turned to him and said something like, "Oh, these refs got to give me a break," and that was it. He got a team.
Yeah.
There was an explanation given after the fact by the referees, and they outlined their case, and it did sound pretty rock solid. But of course, the referee is going to say that he called the integrity of the referee into question, and it was after an earlier incident as well. So
called his ego into question, probably rightfully so. It's like the police. Okay, so for any police officer watching, this is going to be rough. Okay, yeah, like when you're the law and you're especially the law over yourselves, yeah, sometimes your judgment is questionable at best. And I think that's probably the case. Look, don't get me wrong. Okay, in these recent ejections, I think the NBA player, the average NBA player, is the biggest sook. And he has the biggest whinge about all these calls, and they scream and carry on like a baby. And you know what? The refs kind of take it a little bit. I reckon that might be one that maybe Jar's gotten up in his ear in a different game. And now it's just like this guy's like, oh man, I've got this dickhead again. And he carries on again, and straight away he's like, yeah, I'm going to nip it in the bud.
Yeah, maybe so. Who else? We had Mike Brown, who absolutely deserved to get tossed. He came running out onto the court, like charging at the ref. Like, you can't do that kind of stuff, Mike. Come on now.
Crazy Mike.
And then there was the fan who got ejected after Draymond Green pointed them out and said that he was threatening Draymond's life. And then apparently this fan is just like a rapper. It's obviously not a genre of music I know that well, but but he was saying that
like Little Punk or something.
All he said was that that Milwaukee, the city of Milwaukee, was giving Draymond a pass for punching what's his name, Paul.
Yeah, Paul.
Because Jordan Paul is a Milwaukee boy apparently. So. Yeah, that's what apparently all this fan was saying to Draymond, and Draymond got up in his feelings and said, "Get rid of that guy." So,
geez, I'll tell you what, Draymond, he'd be a really good player, and I reckon you'd like him if he's on your team, except if you're Jordan Poole,
or Kevin Durant.
Jesus, buddy, he'd be a hard guy to like. He just, like, he's not. Yeah, his whole beef with Charles Barkley too. Like, that's weird. Like, I'm gonna go on the record as saying Charles Barkley is 10 times the basketball player Draymond Green is.
Oh, for sure, no doubt about that.
It's not even a contest, and he throws up. Yeah, I won a championship. It's like, yeah, look, put Charles Barkley in there with buddy Steph Curry, and he'll probably win a couple of championships as well. So
I'm with you.
No, that kills me about him.
The other one was the NBA playing in Mexico City, and then all of this talk about Mexico City being a possible expansion team destination. Interestingly, they were having major problems with the altitude, with catching their breath on the court. I found out after the fact that Denver is the highest altitude amongst NBA teams currently at about 5,000 plus. I can't remember whether they were using feet or yards or whatever.
Yeah, I've heard it is noticeable on the performance.
Yeah, but then Mexico City is 7,500. So it is significantly higher elevation or altitude-wise than Denver. So interesting.
You'd want to be looking at their schedule going into that. It's like preparing at base camp for Everest or something like that, where they go up there for like 2 weeks before. Yeah, cool. That's fine. You'll be fine. But if you rock up off a double header and then the next day you go on to Mexico to play a game, that'd be telling.
Well, they used to try to take advantage of that in the 80s Nuggets teams. They try to just run teams off their feet and set all sorts of records for pace. But
even to this day, like Denver has one of the strongest home court advantages, like by the numbers in the league. So interesting.
I kind of miss that story about Mexico City. I heard just a tiny bit, and the thing that it made me immediately think of is I don't think it'll ever happen. I think the NBA players have too much power, and these young stars are not going to want to go and live in Mexico City. So I reckon the players are going to be against it. But
yeah,
we'll see if I'm wrong on that. But yeah, I reckon the location will be a problem.
Has anyone got any name suggestions for the Mexico City?
Yeah, there were a few of those. Yeah, there were a few of those. I can't remember any off the top of my head, but there was a Reddit thread on it. So if you want to get some funny, perhaps borderline or not so borderline racist name suggestions, so just go and check that out.
I'm not going there either. So yeah, I just was hoping someone else would. So yeah.
But it was interesting to see Adam Silver talking it up. I do think that, well, given the substantial fan base, and Mexico City is the most populous city in the world, I think, has 20 plus million people. The potential for revenue increases for the NBA, they may push for it really hard, but I don't know. As you say, it is a player-driven league, so we'll see how that plays out.
I'd like to see it. I actually reckon it'd be a really good idea. And I do think the players will be against it for altitude and travel reasons. They're traveling all over the place anyway. It'll just be interesting to see what kind of a conference they'd try and slot them into. I mean, obviously, you're going to be talking Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio. They're all going to be in there with those guys. So they're the teams that they have to get to buy into it because they're going to be playing there more often than not. Or maybe do they see that as we'll be able to acclimatise. So if this Mexico team is actually really good, we'll be okay. It's your Washingtons and all these other sides that are going to struggle.
It's interesting because it does sound as though the three candidates for expansion teams are all sort of Western Conference, Mexico City, Las Vegas, and Seattle. So, all right. So we've got line of the week. Nick, fantasy line of the week. What do you got for us?
Okay. Yeah, okay. So a couple of my boys up the top there. I've got the big Jokic. He's had two. Look at those two games. That's on the 15th and the 19th of December. They're two beastie, real strong games. I think obviously the game against Charlotte where he gets 27 rebounds has got to be the actual line of the week if we're picking one from that. I don't mind 85% from the field in the other game against Washington, 17 out of 20 shots, if you don't mind. That's freaking just insane. 5 steals, 1 block, 43 points, 8 assists, 14 rebounds in that game, and that's his worst of the two games. Yeah, Jokic is back in a big way. It's pretty hard to kind of think of a game that's going to knock that off for the week.
I think
my other boy...
somebody was saying that the only other player in NBA history to have a line as good was Wilt Chamberlain and Elvin Hayes, I think, to match that line. I thought,
and it's really hard to trust a lot of those stats because they don't.
That's the one. Baylor. Yeah.
There's a few, and I want to hark back to some historical performances in a minute, but yeah, it's really hard to take the Wilt thing because he's banging on. Yeah, I got like 17 blocks in a game and 60 rebounds. Yeah, cool, man. But yeah, we'll get on to that in a minute. The other guy up the top there is Tyler Herro. So 10 threes, 41 points, a steal, a block, 65% from the field, 4 turnovers. The other game he gets 35, no steals or blocks. He gets only 1 turnover, has 9 threes. How's that? 9 threes and then 10 threes in consecutive days. That dude was on a streak, 100% on a small amount of shots in both games. So he's really maximizing his opportunity as that kind of 6-man kind of guy. So yeah, Herro, that's his only chance to get up on this page.
I think he's ranked 3 in the last week, 13 in the last 2 weeks, and 27 in the last month.
Very nice. I think the December 16 game, wasn't that his first game moving into the starting lineup? I
believe it was, yeah. Well, 39 minutes plus each game, and why wouldn't you when the guy's hitting everything like that? You just leave him in there and just watch the points roll in. The other games, one Dave tipped us up to, I just flicked on, I was watching this game, and Dave's like, Jesus, Devin Booker on the text, so I paid a little bit more attention. I thought he was going to get 60. I reckon you fucked his chances of getting line of the week there, Dave, because you talked him up significantly. And he didn't. I don't think he scored after you sent that thing.
No, he had like 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter when I sent that message.
6 minutes or something like that. I'm like, yeah, he's going to get 60 plus. He's going to get 70 points or something. Nah, thanks, Dave.
I think he was like 21 for 30 at the time, and he missed 5 shots in a row. Oh well, what can you do?
Yeah.
You just need to shut up when something like that's happening.
So true. Yep.
Let it ride.
Don't say anything until later.
He didn't get any steals or blocks, so also a terrible fantasy game there. I'm going to skip to the next slide. And so these are the honourable mentions, and I'm going to throw AD in here first up with a couple of great performances before he got injured, because he's not going to be in here again for a little while. They are some pretty damn solid performances, though. If you have a look at that, that is fantastic, particularly the game on December 12th against Detroit. So there's not too much to hate about that game. He's only had one turnover. He's been useful in pretty much every category except for he didn't hit a three. He only put up one. Bad luck. He missed it. Probably the best of the honourable mentions here has got to be Joel Embiid. So he's got a couple of threes. Field goal percentage is just dipped below 50, which is disappointing. 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 6 turnovers, 4 steals, 2 blocks, 34 points. That's fantastic too. And Jimmy the Butt slides in there. Another fantastic game. Look at those defensive stats. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. 3 blocks, 4 steals, 20 points, 7 assists, 10 rebounds, no threes. That's the only reason he's not on the other page. Free throw percentage, 6 of 10. So 10 shots at the line at only 60%. So a little bit disappointing. It's one of those things where it could have given him, a little bit more, and we'll see how he goes. What are your thoughts on those 3 guys? And did you guys have any other people you feel like are badly aggrieved in missing out?
No, I think you've done pretty well there. I'd just say, obviously the Bucks, those defensive stats are great, but he needs them because he never hits any threes. And his free throw percentage is normally stellar. You can't mark him down too much for that 60% on the one game.
I'll just say I've been in communication with the 4th member of our podcast over the last week, and he's quite aggrieved that AD didn't get it in a previous week and that we gave it to Zubac. And to make up for it, I dropped Zubac in our league and have committed him to Flames.
No, you know what? I did say in the text to Howie, I did say I'd apologise. I think I actually just stone cold missed that AD game, which is hilarious. He clearly had the better game than Zubac. Let's be honest here. But I don't want to take it off him.
No, I can't take it off him.
Yeah, no. Once you got it, it's too late, dude. Bad luck. Get back on the court and get another one. Now you can be happy with the honourable mentions this week. So get that up. Yeah. All right. The next thing I'm going to just bring it on here. So I'm trying to pick up. We're all big fans of fantasy basketball. We have been for a long while, but we've been fans of the NBA for even longer. And I was thinking, geez, I wonder how good would it have been to have fantasy basketball back in the day, pre-fantasy. So with that in mind, I've picked out a few of the really, really sweet fantasy games of all time. And now I'm not going back into the Wilt Chamberlain era, and I haven't got, these aren't the best games of all time, but I'm going to throw in a few of these each, different ones each week. Look at the man. Look at the dream there. I've got 2 of him, and I've put him up the top there. Particularly that, I think I like the second game there. And not the quadruple double game. The other one is the one that I like.
There was I was talking 5x5 games with Howie, and there was another 5x5 game that Hakeem had that was even better than that one, if I remember right. If I can find it, I'll let you know. Yeah,
so, I mean, look, Hakeem, you are an absolute beast. So 0 turnovers, 29 points, 11 blocks, 5 steals, 9 assists, 18 rebounds, 75% from the line, 52% from the field. No 3-pointers, Hakeem. What are you doing? But apart from that, that's probably the greatest fantasy basketball game that I could dredge up. I've had to throw MJ in there for his 69-point performance. Also worth noting, 1 block, 4 steals. So, it's 2 threes, 91%. So 21 or 23 from the line. So that's a DeMar DeRozan free throw performance if I've ever seen it.
Can either of you confirm this? Was that David Robinson game the last game of the season where he was having a battle with Shaquille O'Neal for the scoring title? And he needed 50 plus.
Famously pipped Shaq to the scoring title, and Shaq is still salty about that to this day.
I believe it was. Sorry, Shaq. You've had some good games. Don't worry about it, mate. And how good is Dirk's game? This 53-point game, 1 turnover, 4 blocks, 3 steals, a couple of assists, 16 rebounds, 21 of 22 from the line, 2 threes, just under 50%. That's fantastic. And just because I know how he's still salty about Zubac, I've thrown in Anthony Davis from the New Orleans Pelicans. 50 points. Looks 5 steals, 5 assists, 15 rebounds, 16 of 17 free throws from your big dog. That's insane. Yeah, a really, really good game. But, yeah, not bad.
I found the other Hakeem 5x5 games. There's some spicy stats here. Are you ready? All right.
Yep.
1987, Hakeem had a game with 38 points, 17 rebounds, 6 assists, 12 blocks, 7 steals.
Holy moly. That's a pretty impressive game. I think I may have found the one you're talking about on a website here. Can you see that one?
Which one, Nick?
Up the top, the very first one.
Okay.
1987.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. And then there was another one, which you might also have there.
The third one, yeah.
In 1990, Hakeem had a game with 29 points, 18 rebounds, 10 assists, so nice triple-double there, 12 blocks,
they've rounded him up
and
in
5
assists.
steals.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So I'll obviously be delving into the archives and getting a few of these. How's Chris Webber's game? Buddy, 26 rebounds, 51 points here. So that's
something
fantastic. I know, DeMarcus Cousins has held it together for a game and managed to not get a tech foul, and he's got 52 points and 23 rebounds there too, if you don't mind. There's a few really, really sweet games there, so I don't want to... I'm going to stop sharing because I don't want to share all the secret stuff at once.
I was wanting to go deep there on the tabs open in the background of your browser. You seem to be scoping out Mo Wagner. Is he on your radar potentially?
Mo's on the he would be one of my waiver wire pickups. In fact, I did pick him up. I picked him up early this evening, a couple of hours ago. I had Kemba Walker. I picked him up after he had that one fantastic game. I saw Luka's back, and I'm like, he ain't doing that again. So the big Mo is back in town. So, that's it.
Yep. Next segment is all-time fantasy man crush. Now, this can be generally a guy that you've kept coming back to over the years that you've loved throughout the course of their career, or it can just be like a one-off season that inspired you, shall we say. So who wants to start? Shan, you look like you're ready and willing. Off you go.
Oh, yeah. Always am. All right, cool. So when you suggested this idea, Dave, I thought it was a good one. And the way I approached it was players that not only tickle my fancy in regards their categorical profiles, but also maybe I had them on my team for either many seasons or during a particularly important season.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a hard process because we've been playing this game for 20-something years now. And I eventually narrowed it down. And what I've got is I've got 5 runners-up and 1 guy.
Right.
So my 5 runners-up, my 5 four horsemen who are Shan guys are Steph Curry I had when he was quite young and coming on the scene, and that was just an amazing experience.
Yeah, I've always thought of Steph as a Shan guy.
He's not only a Shan guy. I'm sure quite a few of us would lay claim to that, but he's definitely one of my boys. Porzingis, who I would understand if Nick actually laid claim to him, because I still remember being devastated when Nick drafted him as a rookie, and I was shocked that someone else had their eye on him. Dirk, he was on my team probably about for 5 or 6 years.
I thought he'd be your number 1 guy, Shan.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yep, love the
now
Diggler.
I'm interested to see who you've got. That's the big kahuna.
Amari Stoudemire, who was, I think, charged with familial violence this week.
He beat up his daughter. Sad story.
So putting that aside, I drafted Amari in our draft in his rookie year when half of the league said, who the hell is he? Because he came straight out of high school, and it was probably a stupid thing to draft him, but I drafted him and he was bloody awesome. And the last backup guy, Ersan Ilyasova. Boy, did I love Ersan. Just one of the early guys who was a power forward with range and who could just do a bit of everything. And he'd just have these games where he'd have bunch of threes, bunch of blocks, get you 20 and 10 and just go, what the hell, who is this guy?
Have you heard the conspiracy theory around Ersan Ilyasova?
Don't think so.
There's I've got to remember all the details now that I've brought this up. But he was somebody with a very similar but different name, like an Ilyasov or something, like Arson Ilyasov, and they constituted him as a prospect in his from a different part of the former Soviet bloc, and in order for him to get drafted and get a better contract and all this kind of stuff as a younger man. So he's actually the theory is that he's actually several years older than the current Ersan Ilyasova that we know today.
Right, I heard that he was James Franco, so
he's got a bit of James Franco about him, doesn't he?
All right, before I announce my guy all time over 20-something years, do you guys want to have a guess at who it might be?
Oh, jeez.
Too many. Yeah. I thought it was Dirk for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, if I give you a clue that he's on my team currently.
Oh, Jesus. I should have a look at your team, but I won't.
Well, I've got, funnily, I've got Porzingis on my team as well.
Curry?
No, it's not Curry.
Oh, Jesus.
No, hit us with it.
Jaren Jackson Jr.
Oh, wow.
There is something about Jaren Jackson Jr., the ultimate unicorn. Go, Nick.
Whatever. I reckon that's just it's a bit of new relationship energy, as they like to call it.
No. If you go back and look, I've probably owned Jaren about 3 or 4 times.
I haven't noticed because he hasn't played.
And there's always been that pain with Jaren Jackson that he'll either get injured or he'll get in foul trouble. It's always been a huge thing, but he just has these like quarters where he just explodes with blocks and threes, and there's something about that unicorn profile, and Jaren's always been my guy. So there's my guy.
Nice one. All right, I'll go last. Nick, do you want to hit us with yours?
Okay, look, I haven't done a lot of research into this, despite the fact that I was pretty keen on the thing, but I know who my number one guy is, and it's an obvious one. Everyone's probably likes this guy a lot, or some people apparently didn't like him. Kobe Bryant. How good is Kobe Bryant? I can remember I had him on that year when the Lakers were a shit house, and Kobe was just eating every game. I had him when he got 81 points against Toronto. Yeah, I can just remember having him, and I had a terrible fantasy season, but he was the only guy, and I actually finished like second or third or something like that, just on the back of Kobe's just will to hung us the ball as much as possible and just score and pass and do everything he needed to do. So I love Kobe Bryant, and it's a bit of a sentimental one, but I'm sure I'm not the only person that feels like Kobe's their dude. So he's the number one. And like I was just trying to think while Shan was talking about Ersan and Amari and a few of these kind of lesser light kind of guys that I've really liked over the time. So I've got 3 of them. Now, one of them's not that much of a lesser light, but he's the next best to Kobe is Jason Kidd. He was always fun to own from a fantasy point of view because people don't rate points. He didn't score a shitload of points, but he damn sure got a lot of assists. He was tidy with the ball. He rebounded really well for a guard. I liked him a lot. The second last guy, Josh Smith. How good was it to have Josh Smith while he was playing? He was great. I loved the blocks. I loved the steals. I loved the threes. He was that block, steal, 3 rebound.
So long as you didn't draft Detroit Pistons Josh Smith.
No, I'm talking Atlanta, early Atlanta Josh Smith.
Yeah.
He was on my longer list, Nick, along with a few others.
And the last one is coming out of left field, and maybe I could do a little bit more research on it and tell you a little bit more about him. But Michael Finley.
Yeah, that's a
Finley. What did you like about Finley?
I liked watching Dallas play, probably because he played with Dirk, and I wouldn't kind of jump in on Shan and try and cut Shan's lunch on Dirk Nowitzki, but I loved watching Dirk play too, and I knew Shan would always have Dirk Nowitzki on his side, so I made sure I'd get Michael Finley so I could watch those games too. And he was an exciting player. He was a bit of hot and cold, and he really dropped off a cliff at one stage, and probably Karl Anthony Towns is probably of the modern guys. He's one of the guys who I've liked a lot and I've had a few times, and he's been really good to me. And another one of those big shooting guys. So I'd love to be able to reach further back and say, oh, geez, I loved having Jordan and Akeem and Magic Johnson, but it just wasn't really a thing back then.
No, slightly before our time.
I had Jordan in his Wizards year, and it was the worst fantasy pick I ever made. I took him in the second round because I knew it was going to be his last season he ever played, and I wanted to own him.
Nice.
No, I get that. Shan, just before we move on to Dave Speaks, who were you going to guess was my guy? I'm interested.
I was when you said Josh Smith, it made me immediately think of Gerald Wallace, and I thought, I remember Nick raving about his his blocks and steals.
Yeah, your defensive players are also good to watch. Like I think most of those guys, apart from Jason Kidd that I mentioned, were defensive beasts. So that's always fun to watch someone go and attack and get you these stats that other guys just held off and went, okay, I'll go score some buckets down the other end. So I like the D.
Nice one. All right, I've got two big kahunas, one single season kahuna and one, career achievement kahuna.
Nice.
But look, I know that I'm quite famous for having got my guys that I come back to again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a few of those that I can throw in here. Just
Do you want me and Nick to have some guesses?
Honourable mentions. Go for it, guys.
Sean Marion.
Yeah.
And Jason Terry.
Jason Terry, very much.
Rashard Lewis.
Yeah. You've got
yes.
some good ones there. I'd also throw in Peja Stojakovic. Loved him back in the day. Had him a number of times. But no, look, the two big kahunas. Now, I did go with Dirk Nowitzki as career achievement kahuna. I just love. I didn't get an opportunity to draft him very often because I had a sequence of some pretty bad luck, I would say, in obtaining the number one pick or a pick in the top three, and he was almost always in that kind of bracket until later in his career.
Just before you move on, Dave, I remember turning up to a draft day and I had number one pick and I sat down on a couch next to you and I was like, I don't know who to pick. Is it Dirk or is it KG? And you just looked at me and said, you're crazy if you don't pick Dirk. And I did, and I might have won that year.
Yeah. Look, it's falls into a bracket that just sort of, at that time, was really kind of like catnip for me. Like I really liked the hyper-efficient guy that also still produced, reasonable volume. And Nowitzki was that kind of guy. Like he obviously he hit some threes, blocks, steals. He wasn't hugely productive in those categories. Not as many threes as you might expect for a guy that had a reputation as an outside shooter. But just he didn't turn the ball over, and he was 50% from the field almost every year, 90% from the line. It was just like he just didn't hurt you anywhere. And that at that time, that was really what I was big on. Jason Terry for the same reason, and also Jason Terry because I think I appreciated the efficiency that and the value that he delivered more than others.
Was he a steals guy?
No, he's more of a threes and points, and he would chip in with some assists, and he just didn't turn the ball over really much at all. So we would always hit that point in a draft, sort of around the middle rounds, where I think, how is this guy still on the board? How is this guy still on the board? I've got to draft him. I probably had him on my team far more than any other player, so he's got to get an honourable mention. But
can I throw up for Howie one thing that he?
Let's do that.
Brad Miller. Sorry, go on.
But come on, like it's got to be Jason Kidd, like as the ultimate Howie guy. Like Howie drafted that guy, I think more than as a GM player combo. I think Howie's had Jason Kidd more than any other person's had any other player.
All right, so we'll check with Howie when he in the next episode.
Yeah.
So who are we guessing for you two? Who do you think might be Howie's guy?
Main guy, Jason Kidd. Definitely Jason Kidd.
Who did I just say?
Kirilenko.
No, and the other one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Brad Miller.
Kirilenko and Brad Miller. I feel like from a Howie guy, I would identify more as a Brad Miller, but from a fantasy, he had more love for AK. So yeah.
I agree with all of those, and I'll chuck in either Brent Barry or Donyell Marshall.
Yeah, Brent Barry and Donyell. He picked up Donyell in that year where Donyell just went ridiculously hot.
At Toronto, where he started shooting threes.
Half a season, he just went nuts, and he was the best player.
Let's see what Howie says.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, Brent Barry's a good one. But yeah, look, my single season kahuna, I've never been as into any player as I was in 16-17, Nikola Jokic. Second season, I drafted him, and we started off the year... he started off, I think it was Michael Malone's first season as head coach, and he wanted to try and play both Jokic and Nurkic in the same lineup, and it just didn't work. Like, neither of them were producing, and for whatever reason, he decided that he was going to sit Jokic and bring Jokic off the bench as six-man. And Jokic just, and I'd committed like a reasonably high draft pick to Jokic, and he was doing nothing. Like, I think famously quite a patient manager. And I think if I'd been a less patient manager, I might have been tempted to cut him because he was literally just not producing stats. And then all of a sudden, Nurkic got injured. Jokic went into the starting lineup and just exploded. Like, he produced stats the likes of which you've never seen before. I had never seen before. And it was just astronomical. It's like the coming of, the second coming of the Lord, all of a sudden Nikola Jokic was the best player in fantasy hoops.
Yep.
And I was on every...
Will Chamberlain and Larry Bird rolled into one.
I was on every forum. I was, we were having discussions amongst our group and talking about like the new group of unicorn bigs. Cat was kind of like arriving on the scene, and Porzingis and Anthony Davis, and there was a bunch of them. I think it might even have been the first season that Embiid kind of got over his foot injuries and started to do something. And I was making the case that, look, you're all sleeping on Nikola Jokic. He's the best player. He may be the best player in the league. And for that half a season, like there was nothing better for me. That was just
well, he's got the MVP the last 2 years in a row, Dave. So I think it's safe to say that you were right.
Yeah, you can say.
Did you see the story this week on that he's got his trophy sitting in the front of his locker, which is the trophy one of his horses won, and he's got his 2 MVP trophies underneath some clothes further back.
He's a weird unit.
All right, anybody else that we wanted to raise here as our fantasy man crushes?
I'll just give a tip of the hat to Larry Sanders for astronomical blocks in his rookie year, and Rafer Alston coming off the street to the NBA.
Skip to my Lou.
Gilbert Arenas. That's a Nick guy, but you know what? Gilbert burnt me really hard one year. So it was the final game, and I think I needed Gilbert Arenas to get 6 assists, and he would have been averaging like 10 or so that game. Mm-hmm. And he needed to get 6, and I'm pretty sure he got 2 or 3 assists for the game. And I
changed your team name, right?
I changed my team name to something like, I'll swear, but I won't put what I put as my team name out there into the universe, because if Arenas ever finds it, he's going to hunt me down and kill me.
Yeah, we know that he's handy with a gun. So
you and Javaris Crittenton.
Oh God, those were the days, man. Jeez.
Yeah, so I loved him, but it's like when you've had your heart broken. And you just enough. it's too sore to bring him up too often. So yeah, that's you, Gilbert. Thank you.
Right. Time's creeping up on us, so let's move on. I've got an irrationally strong opinion, and you know that I've got any number of these. This one's going to be interesting. Look, I'm just going to throw this out there, and we can have a little bit of a discussion. I don't know whether it's irrational or not. Would either of you like to guess when? I mean, you probably won't be able to guess, but I'll throw it out there, and then I'll let you know. When was the last season that the NBA assist leader won the title?
Ooh, geez, I'm thinking it's got to be like 1990 or something. Wasn't that Magic Johnson?
It's before 1990.
Oh, no.
But you got it right. It was Magic Johnson back in the 86, 87
Detroit
season.
Anyway.
So we're talking like
it was a bit earlier.
35-ish years since the NBA assist leader won the title.
So your irrational opinion is that heliocentric offenses don't lead to success?
Okay, so
what?
Look, that was so long ago. Well, I'll keep going, and then I'll build my case, and then you can tell me if I'm being rational or not. So, since then, rule changes and the evolution of offensive and defensive schemes have almost completely changed the game. So it's almost impossible to kind of compare those eras. So I'm not ragging on assists in general. I'm suggesting that... So team assist numbers can indicate that you're executing your offensive sets correctly and effectively as a team, right? But I think people often assume that high assist numbers indicate that a player is unselfish. And I think that you can say that we've seen in recent seasons that some of the most historically selfish players in league history have been high assist guys. We're talking guys like Westbrook, Harden,
Chris Paul.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say Chris Paul, but he's going to form part of my argument.
Trae Young's in that category too, is he?
John Wall, guys that pound the rock, hold on to possession for 20 seconds, won't give it up unless they find somebody who's got a wide open layup or a dunk or a corner three. If a guy refuses to pass the ball unless he's going to get an assist, I would think that is by definition stat chasing and is not unselfish basketball. I would think that being an unselfish point guard means putting guys in situations where they can most effectively make use of their offensive talents. I watched some really mediocre Celtics teams in the early 2010s, and Rajon Rondo would routinely pass up wide open layups in order to chase assists, in order to finish the season as the league leader in assists. You can't tell me that is good team basketball.
Yeah.
Look, the other thing that I will say is that heavy assist players, and I think that initial stat would indicate at least somewhat that this case, that heavy assist players have a history of underperformance in the playoffs. Certainly recently, guys like Chris Paul, James Harden, Russell Westbrook have underperformed, and their teams have underperformed. I'm not necessarily saying so. It's about the system more than anything, right? So you see how Nikola Jokic plays. He will often bring the ball up, but he's not the only one. And they'll run these interesting, intricate high post weaves, dribble handoff kind of stuff. And then they'll end up with a situation where they've gotten the opponent's defense all kind of like mixed up from where they thought they should be. And Jokic gets the ball in that high post, isolated, or with an ability to kind of spot a guy who's found space somewhere. That tends to be the way Denver's offense runs. Everybody gets to touch the ball. Everybody's involved. And that's very different from the kind of offense that I'm talking about. I'm talking about your typical Russell Westbrook, John Wall type, pound the rock, go one-on-one, and refuse to give the ball up unless he finds a wide open shooter somewhere. I don't think that that's effective team basketball. And I don't think that that's unselfish basketball.
Yeah. I actually agree with that. Only because you threw Westbrook in there at the last minute, I decided to jump in. Yeah, fuck it.
Look, I think one of the most unselfish players in recent history is Steph Curry. I think that guy is, and I think it's a team mindset and a team first ethos. Yep. That guy takes a hell of a lot of shots, right? But that guy will take shots that are good for the team to take. He doesn't need to have the ball in his possession for a significant amount of the shot clock. He isn't the guy who's forcing the offense to conform to his thoughts or his will or
not at all. Yeah.
So anyway,
I'm with you, Dave. I'm with you, and I would say it as an assist isn't an assist isn't an assist. They're not all the same, and you can go about it in good ways and bad ways. An example of that, actually, this might be unexpected coming from me, but I think the Ball brothers actually do it well.
Yeah, I agree.
If you ever watch Lonzo or LaMelo, they get it right at the start, and they just flick it ahead straight away on the break. They push the ball. They're not hunting assists. They get them because they're good, and they put it out in front of people. And so some of those assists do lead to, and Jokic is the same. When he gets the ball, it's all about exploiting something.
And Tyrese Halliburton does the same thing.
Yeah, and so I'm with you when you compare that to guys who pound the rock and they're waiting and then they're giving it, and there's an understanding on the team. If that guy finally passed me the ball, I know I have to shoot it or he won't pass it to me again. What about right in the middle? Where does Luka Doncic sit on this? Because he does a little bit of both.
Yeah.
In my mind, as in there's an absolute understanding when he plays that when he passes it to you, you better bloody shoot it. But at the same time, he's got that savant, like, I'm going to exploit the defense, and he's amazing at it. And so I'm not sure.
I have Luka in the same bracket as LeBron. So I think the two of them are very similar in this regard. I think they're just so unbelievably talented in terms of getting their own that you can give them as much usage as they take up. And that probably still is the most effective form of offensive production for your team. But you will see that historically and traditionally, so Kristaps didn't work playing alongside Luka Doncic. And there have been a hell of a lot of big guys that have failed to maximize their production alongside LeBron James. Like, I was expecting when they put that big three together that Chris Bosh would be a hell of a lot better than he was for that Miami team. Like, he went from averaging 24, 25 points a game for Toronto. He only averaged like 16, 17 points a game on that Miami team. Like, he clearly took a
I think I had him that year.
And
I got him because I wasn't that high on him, but I got him because there was that fear that was out there that, Wade's going to get his possessions. He's quick enough to get the ball, and he's a pretty damn good ball handler. So that's going to work. LeBron's going to be a vacuum. And yeah, he kind of fell to me, and 100%. That he kind of ended up developing his game to be more of a defensive guy and a guy that could make the team play and hit a shot from the wing when everyone's looking at LeBron and Wade. So 100%. I see the comparison to Luka there,
and I think similarly, Kevin Love. In Cleveland, just never really looked like the same player once he started playing with LeBron, and
Kyrie.
Wow, Kyrie's a bit weird.
So you can see what I'm raising. I can see there are players you can easily categorize as they're a problem when they're hunting assists, but they're that talented that they warrant it. And then you got the guys who are just savant, but they're not about themselves, and they actually are really effective. And then you've got, I think you've identified for me a third category. You're just absolute superstars who you want to run it through. And
it's not necessarily great for all of the players on the team
correct.
On the court with them, but you should just be doing it anyway, because that's clearly the most effective strategy for your team.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And those guys usually have success. Like LeBron's had a lot of success. Luka's shown glimpses of a lot of success. If he gets a couple more pieces around him or something like that, I could see Luka having a lot of success.
It's interesting that's kind of part of. And look, I agree. I think the Dallas front office needs to do a hell of a lot better job than they have up until now, surrounding Luka with the pieces to elevate him and elevate the team. I think they just haven't really got it right yet. But to be fair to them, they executed what seemed at the time to be an amazing trade for Kristaps Porzingis.
Look
who's dropped in.
What's up, bro? How you doing? He's here.
just to have these final say.
Who's your biggest man crush in fantasy?
Yeah, we were trying to work this out. Who would you say your biggest man crush in the history of fantasy is?
You really? There's two main candidates. Is that what you've been debating? The two main candidates.
We've got a few.
I wouldn't say we've been debating it sort of, for the last 55 minutes that we've been recording.
55 minutes.
But we've had a decent debate. Yeah.
Look, it's very, very close. It might be closer than people realize, but I think my biggest man crush was Andrei Kirilenko.
Hey, interesting.
Hold you up.
Nick called it.
But Brent Barry was awfully close.
Stan, Luke, there was one other main person that we had there. I've got written down here in front of me. I've got Barry, AK, and Brad Miller.
Nice. Yeah. So my guess of Jay Kidd's not even close.
Oh, look, I was really into Kidd, but if you're talking big man crushes, what you need to appreciate, Dave, is that I came to fantasy basketball as a naive country kid, eyes wide open to the big city, and I was just in raptures with Brent Barry and Andrei Kirilenko. Jason Kidd came later.
Yeah, fair enough. I got you. All right, so it's good to have you here, Howie, because we're going to go and quickly get through our discussion on Christmas Day games, and the Lakers are playing, so we want to get your thoughts there. Let's kick it off with the Sixers versus the Knicks. Sixers currently on a 5-game win streak. The Knicks currently on a 7-game win streak, which is crazy. Knicks hosting. So what do we think?
I like the Knicks for this.
Yeah.
I reckon I can see Julius Randle going bananas in this game.
Well, Shane,
I reckon he's a big game player.
You're the Sixers fan here. Tell us, how are you feeling about the Sixers at the moment?
Oh, they're doing well currently, but I can't objectively predict the Sixers, especially when I have such a problem with their coach as well. If Doc Rivers can find a way to lose it, he will. They are very talented.
Yeah.
Embiid's playing well. If I had to put my money on it, I'd say Sixers will get up, but it wouldn't surprise me if Nick was right.
Tyrese Maxey is likely to be back in time, I would say.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, thereabouts.
Thoughts, Howie?
The New York Knicks are my Howie Christmas lock of the year.
Nice.
So, it'll be the Sixers will still be playing an hour after the game's done, and they still won't catch them. Knicks are on absolute fire at the moment.
I like it. Yes, they are. Strangely enough, 7 wins. Crazy. All right, next game up is the Lakers versus the Mavs. Lakers playing at the Mavs. Mavs hosting. Mavs currently lost a couple of games. The Lakers, I think, have won their last one.
Matt lost today.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Obviously, losing AD is going to hurt. Thoughts?
Mavs have been stinking it up. Lakers have lost AD. We've been playing surprisingly well. Even so, no LeBron, no Westbrook, no AD today, and we got rolled by the Suns. I expect LeBron to be pretty fresh. I don't think the Mavs are playing that well. I reckon Lakers in with a big shot. 13 and 17. A lot of those recent losses have been with sitting guys as well. Mavs are 14 and 15 now, so there's actually not much difference between the two teams. In Dallas, I'm going to say LeBron on Christmas Day, Lakers.
I reckon that Luka likes to elevate his game playing against LeBron. Obviously, he's a huge LeBron fan.
Yeah.
So he had a big preseason.
He has. He's obviously had his struggles in the last couple of weeks after a super hot start. But I'm gonna back Luka in on Christmas Day.
Luka will be warming up to it now.
Yeah.
Go, Shay.
Yeah, I'm going to say I would not want to be playing the Lakers over the next 3 weeks. I reckon LeBron's about to go full on Nova and try to carry them for a while. But on the downside, I think that's going to burn him out. Like I worry. I feel like if I was a fantasy owner of LeBron, I'd be trying to get rid of him as soon as he goes through this for a couple of weeks. But for that reason, LeBron is going to destroy Christmas Day. Last
word on this, Nick?
I actually like Dallas for this. I see AD out as like a real problem. Now, I've got a bit of a bias. I like Christian Wood, and he's been actually turning it up. He's been getting a lot of minutes. He's been getting a ton of rebounds. His last 3 games, he's had 12, 14, and 13 rebounds, 32, 26, and 15 points. He's had 2 blocks in each of those games too, shooting really good percentages. I just feel like if they had AD there, Christian Wood isn't a factor, but I feel like him being a factor and his confidence, he's one of those guys who when he gets on a good game, he can go off. He shoots a bunch of threes. I just feel like having Christian Wood there in this thing, no AD, and then you got Luka Doncic there kind of probably knowing that he needs another guy to go off as well as him to beat the Lakers. I've got a sneaky suspicion that Luka will get up in this one.
I like it. So 2-2. The Bucks at the Celtics. The Celtics have been struggling of late. Very strange losses, back-to-back losses against the Magic. Having trouble integrating Time Lord back into the rotation. I don't know. Strange one. Thoughts?
Did we find out why Tatum was out? What his personal reasons were?
I haven't seen. Yeah, not sure.
This is the game of the day. I'm going to go with. It could go either way, but I'm going to go with the Bucks.
Yeah.
No, I think the Celtics are possibly the best team in the league. So what? They've dropped a couple. I think the Bucks are strangely not putting it all together yet, and maybe that'll still come at a later point. I feel like this is all Celtics again. Christmas Day special.
I think Middleton is a Celtics killer, traditional Celtics killer, and he's been struggling recently. But if there's any team that he's going to sort of like break out of a slump and fire up against, Chris Middleton.
He's out. He's injured. So if he remains out, then I change my tip to the Celtics.
Yeah, look, I think maybe like a big matchup, like against the Bucks, is what some of the Celtics players need to sort of snap out of like a little mini kind of pre-holiday slump. So I'm definitely backing the Celtics in this one. Nico?
Where's it at?
Where's that? It's at Boston.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Milwaukee. I reckon. Look, they've got the best record in the league.
In Milwaukee, but since it's in Boston.
Look, I feel like that they need a challenge, and that's it. Everyone's waiting for the Bucks to level up a little bit. They're already the best team in the league. I can't really see, and they've been without Middleton for a massive portion of that. I just reckon that they're not on firing on all cylinders because Giannis isn't yet, but they're a really good side.
Still
This is
getting it
just the
done.
kind of game that Giannis could do. I could see Giannis having a 50-point, 20-rebound game. Yeah, look, who knows? If Tatum fires up and Jaylen Brown go nuts, it could happen the other way. But if you ask me who's going to win, I'm putting my money on the Bucks.
And if he goes 15-20, I'm sure he won't be the line of the week either. So let's look forward to that.
Oh, sorry, man. You can listen to the rest of the podcast. I apologize for that. I'm sorry.
He did apologize. It takes a big man to admit that he's wrong. This one, I think, is probably going to be a little one-sided. Grizzlies versus the Warriors, although it is in San Francisco. So
that's all right. The Warriors don't traditionally play in San Francisco, so usually Oakland for all their time. So very controversial move to San Francisco City from the poor to the rich. So
True.
I'm thinking the Warriors are going to get some of the just desserts on Christmas Day / our Boxing Day.
I can't see the Grizzlies losing this one, especially if Bane gets back for this.
Which he will be most likely.
Yeah, there you go. Anybody taking the Warriors?
Nope.
No.
Grizzlies comfortably with no Steph.
Although maybe Klay Thompson goes off. Who knows? The next game, this one's a little bit closer. Suns versus Nuggets at Denver. Howie?
Oh, Mile High City. Oh, Denver usually have the advantage in Denver.
Altitudinal.
Where interestingly, if you travel from LA to Denver, your radiation levels go up to such a degree that if it happened in LA, they'd call a national emergency, a state emergency.
Radiation level.
Such is the impact of the altitude in Denver. It's a huge factor.
Interesting. We just had that conversation earlier, actually, because we were talking about them mooting a franchise in Mexico City. And Mexico City is apparently another 2,000 feet higher in elevation than Denver.
Huge elevation. Yep.
Yeah. So very interesting. Suns versus Nuggets. So, look, geez, the Suns have got to pull it together. They've been pretty awful the last few weeks. Difficult to say what the cause is. There have been a few injury niggles with them. I can't pick them against Denver.
They've won their last 3, so they're turning a corner. But yeah, you're right. They've won their last 3, but their last 10 is 4 wins, 6 losses. So they were terrible before those.
Yeah.
I like watching the Suns play. I like watching the Nuggets play. This is going to be my favorite game for me.
Nice.
My boy's going to get it done. Nuggets all the way.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
Sham?
yeah. I'm tempted to go the Nuggets here. My one concern is their health. MPJ probably won't be back, but how's Murray going? Is he healthy at the moment?
He's healthy, but he's
playing,
just inconsistent. Yeah,
I think they've been really struggling when they've had to play Bones Highland for lots of minutes, who I'm a fan of, but his defense is just deplorable.
He's just not there yet either. In a couple of years, I could definitely see him being an amazing resource off the bench, but at the moment, he just plays, like a headless chook at times.
So unconfidently, I'll go for the Nuggets.
All right, cool. Well, that was the last one, but I'll ask for each of you, where are you planning to watch the Christmas Day games from?
Loz's house.
Loz's house? Just sitting at home?
Hoping to go to Loz's place as well,
cool.
but
Nice.
to be decided.
I might try and sneak around to Loz's house. Loz, that's my RSVP. I know you listen to this podcast.
The consensus is Loz's house.
Nice. And if it were a day of NBA games versus opening day of the Boxing Day test, because we know in this part of the world, the Christmas Day games, NBA games, happen for us on Boxing Day, not on Christmas Day.
But no one's really watching the cricket anymore.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
When I think about how devoted we all were to the cricket in the 90s with, the Wars and Blewett and Langer and Hayden and just the superstars of the game where Australia dominated, it's given way to not much interest.
Yeah.
Is it South Africa? I'm not even certain of who we're playing.
It is South Africa, yeah.
It is South Africa.
The last test ended in 2 days, so I couldn't give a rat's.
Nice.
NBA. Anybody else? Anybody got any consideration for the cricket? Will you at least have
I've got a little bit of consideration.
Yeah.
I won't turn it on, but I'll flick the little Crick Info app on my phone and have a bit of a look. I might even convince the boys during a timeout to put it on for the first over or something like that. But,
Sounds like you're not going to have much luck there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got Howie with us, so we can do Kawhi Watch. Howie.
Well, he's playing sort of okay at the moment, isn't he? But, I mean, with every good game he plays, it just brings us one day closer to the next rest day. And I feel for him because he must be absolutely buggered. He's playing well. He's been doing the work for Paul George because I think Paul George missed a couple and Kawhi really stood up.
Yeah.
So maybe this is the turning point. Maybe it's been 4 years of rest days and they're done now. And now he's ready to work and get that work on. So let's see. I'll let you know how it goes at Kawhi Watch when we pick up the podcast after Christmas.
Nice.
He's had a good last couple of games.
Yeah.
When I say good, not superstar good, but
solid,
good, usable good.
Ranked
It's
67
funny how
over the last 2
the
weeks.
expectations for these players can change so much, and Kawhi's expectations are rock bottom for me at the moment. So that's a good game.
It was, yeah. He had a good one. It was prolific in a short period of time. This has been one of the things when he's been on the court, he's not been doing a lot. He's been standing out on the wings, popping shots, missing them, and so things sort of came together for him a bit better.
All right, well, that's the end of this episode, and thanks everybody for watching. As I mentioned at the start, we're probably going to take a little bit of a break over the Christmas and New Year's. We might try and sneak another episode in that break there somewhere, but we won't see you until after Christmas. So if anybody's watching, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you later.
Are you allowed to say Merry Christmas?
Happy holidays.
Yeah. Merry Xmas.
Hey, boys.
Bye.